My God, are these the people that are leading us?
I left the meeting quite shocked.
People were leaving because they were so disgusted and disappointed in the lack of order and because they didn't feel safe.
I feel that I was attacked.
I was absolutely stunned by this.
One councillor gave this extraordinary and very disturbing outburst to one of the electors.
It was a debacle. It really, really was.
Hi and welcome to On Rocky Ground. Threatening behaviour, foul and abusive language and intimidation. These are all allegations from ordinary members of the public who attended the annual electors meeting in December. It's alleged that this behaviour came from known members of the Rockingham and Kwinana Chamber of Commerce. And to top things off, we had a Rockingham councillor who raised a point of order to the mayor because a member of the gallery was staring at her. Here's what these ordinary members of the public had to say about the annual electors meeting.
I'm Dion. I've recently been involved with council. This is the first time I've actually been involved with council ever, only because it's affected my family and myself regarding a proposed development that I believe wasn't advertised correctly, which is going to impact not only my family but the wider community. A recent development got proposed in a residential area. I'll say the street, which is Harrison Street. It's well aware, it's on public now on the council website. It's a $20 million project. The issue was that a lot of the members or the community were not engaged appropriately or to the bare minimum. What I mean, more community consultation. And generally I just wanted to get it out there, more advertisement, especially with projects above 2 million. So I attended 4 council meetings. In that process, I gave deputations, which is quite new to me, and I also engaged a lawyer at the time because I wanted to get this right. Like I said, this is a standard. Once this goes up, this will set standards for future developments. And I'm not against infrastructure or building. I'm actually for it, but done in the right way. At the end of the year, the annual electors meeting was called. Again, I wouldn't have known when this was. The communication to the general public was very poor. Look, I thought it was very intimidating to go into there. There was a whole bunch of seats for those who have not gone there. Again, I just want to reiterate, only 150, probably less, turned up to this meeting. I just wanted to touch with my experience. Again, these are my personal experiences with this particular meeting. I've been in the defence for 20 years. What I found with this particular meeting, there was very little or to no structure put in place. The motions I put forward would benefit for the community moving forward for developments down the track. The issue I had then was a small group challenged every single one of my motion, which I found in an almost an aggressive way. One particular female and one particular male challenged every single motion that I delivered, which I found again daunting in itself. So I can understand why people don't want to get up in front of these type of community engagements to give your motions, to speak your mind.
I ran in the local government elections in 2021 in the Rockingham Safety Bay ward. It was a decision I didn't take lightly. In December 2022, I again attended the annual electors meeting. The annual electors meeting is a great opportunity for electors to ask questions of their council and of the city, and they can propose motions too. My expectation was that the presiding member, in this case the Mayor Deb Hamblin, would set the tone for the meeting. I expected the usual housekeeping to be done, where the toilets are, where the emergency exits are, the muster point, and who to follow in case of an emergency. Unfortunately, the presiding member did none of that. One councillor gave this extraordinary and very disturbing outburst to one of the electors. The councillor accused the elector of staring at her, and this outburst then ensued. Given the formation of the seating, all in attendance can't help but look at or about each other in one way, shape or form. The constant implication that we were wasting her time and the time of the councillors and staff was very disappointing. The disdain for the electors shone through yet again. The most disturbing part of the meeting was the pack that had assembled. It became obvious very quickly that this pack that consisted mainly of members of RKCC and who receive enormous amounts of money from the city, approved by council, had a very specific agenda in mind. They were using foul language, saying loud enough to be heard by the majority of attendees, things that were specific to someone's age, and much, much more. This pack was disrespectful, aggressive, and threatening. At no stage did the presiding member, Mayor Hamblin, do anything to pull them up or to call them into account. This pack ensured that the meeting very quickly became an unsafe place. I, along with a couple of other electors, had another couple of motions to propose, however, decided against it as the entire room felt unsafe. People were leaving because they were so disgusted and disappointed in the lack of order and because they didn't feel safe. That pack ought to have been escorted out of the meeting as soon as they started their disgraceful behaviour. Had the presiding member, Mayor Deb Hamblin, advised all present of meeting etiquette at the beginning of this meeting, this ugliness may have been avoided, although I doubt it, as this pack very obviously had an agenda. We also had veterans in the room with PTSD, and they said that this level of aggression and unsafe feeling triggered their PTSD. This is totally unacceptable. Overall, as someone who has attended many meetings in my time, I found the annual Electors meeting, the AEM, to be disorganised, unprofessional, lacking standard meeting etiquette, and traumatic, and that's not a word I use lightly. It was obvious that the presiding member, Mayor Deb Hamblin, had no control, chose not to evict the pack, and was comfortable showing disdain for the electors of the city of Rockingham. And even more disturbingly, that the councillors and staff were happy to allow this behaviour. None of them called a point of order. The meeting was a disgrace.
With all the local people that were putting motions forward and that, there was a group sitting behind me. I guess from the RKCC and Mangles Bay, because as it turned out, this guy in particular from the Mangles Bay was opposing every motion that was put forward by a ratepayer. Smelled a rat. It was for me, it was just ran a crowd, and I had to walk out. When I come back in, I'm pretty sure there was a motion put forward to about how about we stop spraying glyphosate around in the parks where children and and dogs are. And one person behind us in that group swore pretty loud, everyone could hear it, and there was no real order that was brought, or no apology asked of.
I feel that I was attacked, challenged. I don't mind being challenged, but being attacked, where individuals get up and start getting very emotional, swearing, using prerogative language, pointing. Like I said, I felt attacked by a small group, and it was quite obvious that this group was here. They sat together, they agreed to different motions together, they spoke with each other during the annual electors meeting, and there was one particular individual that I felt was the head of this group. He seemed to get up on every different motion, especially if it's a motion that they didn't like, or a motion that they thought was going to impact the council in any way. This individual challenged each individual extensively at every motion. Yeah, and this also seemed to be a behaviour that was encouraged by that group. At no stage did anyone in that group tell that individual to sit down or that it was inappropriate. So it was almost a behaviour that was encouraged, I believe anyway, from what I was looking at.
My name's Teresa. Look, I've been going to council meetings for quite a few years now, but I have followed the council notes and minutes for a lot longer. And I've been very interested. I've raised multiple issues with the council. Some have been accepted, some have not, and some I have not been at all happy with their answers. But on the annual electors meeting, following the council meeting, it was a debacle. It really, really was. I don't know, there was no control over the meeting. We had people talking over people. We had people shouting from the back, and it was very hard to hear. Well, apparently when I looked at the mayor Councillor Hume assumed very wrongly I was looking at her. And all of a sudden, out of the blue, up jumped Councillor Hume, screeching, saying, "She's looking at me, point of order, Mayor." Me? Looking at a councillor? Come on. You can't really not look at them when they're sat in a row, paraded in front of you as the be-all and end-all. So I was absolutely stunned by this. There was only two ways she could have known. Either she had somebody sitting there looking at who I was looking at and mistook my looking at the mayor and the CEO, or she was staring at me the whole meeting. Now, how do I get away from that? Am I to wear a box on my head? Is the councillor going to have a screen around her so we can't see her? I left the meeting quite shocked, and I went outside, and there were some people in the car park, 4 people, and they were doing a little dance. "She's looking at me, mummy. She's looking at me, mummy." Now, this is mocking a councillor who, in my opinion, was out of order, misbehaved, and did not receive a reprimand from the mayor who chairs the meeting. Now, just believe me, the mayor had absolutely no control over that meeting. There was all sorts. We had abuse hurled from the back row to a lady sitting next to me, absolute abuse. The person after the meeting then comes up and apologises. It's a bit late.
And then I suppose the straw that broke the camel's back was one of the councillors has actually asked the mayor to please ask one of the ratepayers to stop looking at her, staring at her for 15 minutes. And I thought, my God, are these the people that are leading us? That's what it's come to. So all in all, it was a pretty disgusting meeting, and I do really think it should be getting out there, more and more people from the Rockingham ratepayers will get up there and go to these meetings, attend them. It's all about you.
So there you go, those are some of the experiences of ordinary members of the public that attended the annual electors meeting in December. There were many more people that came forward to express their concern about the behaviour of some of these individuals within the annual electors meeting, but chose not to go on camera. They did, however, say that they would gladly write a statement of their experience. And then we had Hume, Councillor Caroline Hume, who thought it appropriate to raise a point of order against a ratepayer in the gallery for staring at her. Maybe if Hume doesn't like being looked at, being a public figure may not have been her best choice. But luckily, there's no barbed wire fence holding her in. If she doesn't like being looked at as a public figure, she's more than welcome to step down. And finally, questions are now being raised about the Rockingham and Kwinana Chamber of Commerce. Over the years, the Rockingham and Kwinana Chamber of Commerce have received more funding than any other association within Rockingham. Questions are now being asked, do they deserve it? Thanks for listening, take care.